You know, what separates extraordinary leaders from everyone else? It's not their background, not their education, not even their talent. It's their ability to lead themselves first. Because before you can influence anyone else, before you can inspire a team, before you can move a family, an organization, or a nation, you must first master the art of leading the person you see in the mirror every morning. That's where it all begins. That's where true leadership is born. Not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments when no one's watching and you make a decision to rise above your own excuses. Most people think leadership is about managing others, telling people what to do, giving orders, setting direction. But leadership begins long before you ever open your mouth. It begins in your decisions, in your discipline, in your personal standards. Because you can't lead others to a higher standard than the one you hold yourself to. You can't give what you don't own. You can't demand commitment from others when you can't even keep promises to yourself. So the first and most powerful act of leadership is mastering yourself. Your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, your focus, your energy. The moment you take ownership of your internal world, everything outside of you begins to change. But if you can't lead yourself through fear, frustration, or uncertainty, you'll never be able to lead anyone else through theirs. There's a moment in everyone's life when they have to decide, am I going to keep reacting to life or am I going to start creating it? Because leadership is about creation. It's about creating direction when none exists. It's about creating certainty when everything around you feels uncertain. It's about deciding that you will be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't just reflect the temperature of your environment, you set it. You decide the tone, the pace, the energy, the standard. And that decision begins with how you lead yourself every single day. When that alarm goes off in the morning, do you hit snooze or do you rise? When life gets uncomfortable, do you back away or do you lean in? When fear whispers that you're not ready, do you listen or do you move anyway? Those small choices, those invisible moments, that's where leaders are made. Not when the world is watching, but when nobody is. You see, leadership is built in private and revealed in public. The conversations you have with yourself, the discipline you practice when no one will ever know, the moments you choose growth over comfort, those are the foundations of self-leadership. If you can't keep yourself accountable, no title or position will ever give you power. Think about it. How can someone expect to influence others when they can't even influence their own behavior? You can't tell your team to push harder if you're still making excuses. You can't inspire your children to believe in themselves if you're constantly doubting your own worth. People don't follow what you say. They follow what you do. They follow who you are. Leadership begins when you make a decision to stop negotiating with your potential. It begins when you stop letting your emotions dictate your standards. It begins when you hold yourself to a higher level than anyone else would dare to expect of you. Because when you do that consistently, when you start taking responsibility for every thought, every action, every outcome, you start building trust with yourself. And that trust, that sense of internal certainty, becomes unshakable confidence. Self-leadership is about becoming the kind of person you would follow. Ask yourself that question right now. Would I follow me? Would I trust my own energy, my consistency, my vision? Would I want to be led by the way I handle adversity, by the way I show up every day, by the way I treat people when things don't go my way? Because if the answer is no, that's not a failure, that's feedback. That's an invitation to grow. Every great leader started by leading themselves through fear, through failure, through doubt. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They led themselves until they became ready. Because leadership isn't about having it all figured out. It's about being willing to move forward even when you don't. So what does it mean to lead yourself first? It means managing your own energy before you try to manage anyone else's. It means controlling your focus before you try to influence someone's mindset. It means setting your emotional tone before you walk into a room, because the strongest energy always leads. When you walk into chaos with calm, people feel it. When you enter fear with certainty, people rise to meet that energy. The truth is, every day you're already leading, whether it's your team, your kids, your friends, or just the people who watch how you live. You're setting an example. The question is, what kind of example are you setting? Because leadership isn't something you switch on when you get a promotion. It's something you live every moment. Leading yourself means making decisions aligned with your values, not your emotions. Your emotions are temporary, they come and go. But your values, your standards, your purpose, that's who you are. When you let those guide you, you don't get tossed around by circumstances. You stand firm in the middle of them. There will be days when you won't feel like showing up. Days when you'll doubt yourself. Days when everything in you will want to retreat. That's where leadership is tested, not when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Because the essence of leadership is doing what's right, not what's comfortable. And when you build the habit of leading yourself through discomfort, You develop something most people never experience: resilience. When you start holding yourself to a higher standard, people around you start to shift. They see how you handle pressure. They see how you stay grounded when things fall apart. They see how you keep your word, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. That's when your influence expands, not because you're louder, but because you're consistent. People trust consistency. They follow integrity. Leading yourself first also means being brutally honest with yourself. It means looking in the mirror and admitting where you've been playing small, where you've been blaming, where you've been waiting for circumstances to change instead of changing yourself. Because honesty creates growth, and growth creates freedom. Sometimes self-leadership is about saying no. Saying no to distractions, no to toxic patterns, no to excuses. Every no to what weakens you is a yes to what strengthens you. That's how you build momentum, by protecting your energy and directing it toward what matters. And let's talk about discipline. Because leadership without discipline is like a car without an engine. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you reinforce that belief, I can trust me, and that trust compounds. It becomes a foundation of confidence so strong that nothing external can shake it. But self-leadership isn't just about being tough, it's also about compassion. It's about leading yourself with love instead of judgment. It's about learning from your mistakes instead of punishing yourself for them. True leaders don't hide from their flaws. They use them as fuel to grow. They understand that self-mastery isn't about perfection. It's about progress. The world is full of people waiting for someone to tell them what to do, waiting for the right opportunity, the right moment, the right motivation. But leaders don't wait, they move. They don't hope things will get better. They make things better. They decide that no matter what happens, they will find a way to lead, to adapt, to rise. And that decision, that inner conviction, is what separates those who create life from those who just endure it. Because when you learn to lead yourself first, you stop being a victim of your circumstances. You become the creator of them. You stop saying, I can't because, and start saying, I will, no matter what. When you can lead yourself through chaos, you become unstoppable. When you can stay calm in the middle of pressure, you become magnetic. When you can keep your heart open in the face of disappointment, you become powerful. That's what real leadership looks like. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's grounded, consistent, and deeply human. Leading yourself first also means holding a vision for your life that's bigger than your current reality. It's about keeping that vision alive even when the results aren't there yet, because your mind follows your focus. If you focus on what's missing, you'll lose your drive. But if you focus on where you're going, you'll keep moving even through resistance. You want to change your life. You want to impact others. Then start by leading yourself in your habits, your words, your energy, your decisions. Be the example, not the exception, because the world doesn't follow talk, it follows transformation. So every morning, ask yourself, who do I need to be today to create the life I want? Not what do I need to do? Who do I need to be? Because when you embody that version of yourself, your actions naturally follow. You start showing up differently. You start walking with purpose. You start leading with authenticity. That's the secret most people miss. Leadership is not about external control, it's about internal command. When you control your focus, your emotions, your standards, you control your destiny. The world may throw storms your way, but when you lead yourself first, you become the storm. You move with power, with purpose, with certainty. And when you reach that level, when you've built the habit of leading yourself every single day, everything else starts to fall into place. Opportunities find you. People are drawn to your energy. You become someone others trust and want to follow, not because you told them to, but because you showed them what's possible. That's what leading yourself first does. It builds the kind of unshakable foundation that no failure, no rejection, no setback can destroy. It turns you from a reactor into a creator, from a worrier into a warrior. Because once you've learned how to lead yourself, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, you can't lead others through. And that's where real leadership begins. It starts with you.